And we are back. This is Local Biz Now. I am Joe Vagnone, and I'm here with my co-host, Sherre DeMao. She is the strategy maestro and founder of Biz Growth, Inc., and I have a special guest on the air for you today. His name is Mike Weinberg. Mike is a consultant, coach, speaker, national best-selling author, and one of the most trusted, sought-after sales experts in the world. And even better than that, he is my favorite sales author of sales books. Sherre, I have read many, as you know, sales books. Mike, you are the man when it comes to sales, buddy. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You are the man. Great to be with you.
So here's what happened, Mike. I read your book, New Sales Simplified. I just absolutely adored it, and I ordered a copy for the owner of this radio station. By the time he finished the book, he had fired his temporary sales director that he had, one of those temp to perm kind of sales directors. He fired them. He let his sales director go. He completely changed his sales force and his sales method. Pats me on the back every time we walk through the hall now. And he literally, the sales in this station are less than $800 away from all of sales of last year. And so I'm going to tell you right now, he's listening right now. He would say the same thing I would say. Mike, you the man when it comes to sales, buddy. And that came from New Sales Simplified, the book that I read, which is why I wanted to get you on the show. And then lo and behold, you got to go and write another book. And, so now to try and keep up with you, and I'm going to put this on the screen. We are live on television as well, Mike, so I'm holding up your book. It is called Sales Truth. It is a phenomenal book, Mike. And I must tell you something. When Sherre and I were talking about you going to be on the show, we were both quite excited about it. She said, "You know how I would describe his book?" And Sherre, how did you say that?
Yeah. To me, what really stood out is, it's really getting back to the basics of sales and what really works. You hit it on the head. There's all these fads. There's all these, try this, try that, all the shiny objects of sales, right? And I'm just really impressed with, there are certain things that are tried and true, right? Right, Mike? Talk about that. Tell us more about that.
Did we hit it? Because that's kind of the way we interpret this book.
I don't even want to talk. I'm enjoying this so much. I tell you what, first of all, my next trip to Charlotte, the four of us are going to go to dinner because I owe you a huge thank you. I appreciate your somewhat inflated view and your very generous words. I'm glad sales are up at the station, and I'll take like 0.5% of credit maybe.
Next time you're in town, we're going to get you on the show live for this. Okay, I got to ask the first question I got to ask about the book. Like, are you just absolutely glutton for punishment that at the beginning of the book you want to talk about the 7 powerful sales lessons from election 2016? I don't want to get into those lessons, right? But I was surprised that you chose that as one of the topics of one of your first 4 chapters of the book. Talk about why you did that, because I know
I will.
Writing it, I know you knew it was going to be risky.
Yeah, it was. And I actually had a fight with the publisher to keep that chapter because they had their views. And I understand, the country is irrational on every side of the aisle. So, and hey, first of all, I didn't start the book. I waited till chapter 4. So give me a little credit for the patience. Here's the thing. I'll answer a different question first, then I'll leave that in. I wrote the book for one real simple reason. What I read online about what it takes to win in sales today, right, and with all the things we must do, and that everything in sales has changed, and that nothing that used to work works. What I read online is so different from what I see with my own eyes in real companies across all kinds of industries, from tiny little companies to giant behemoths, from defense to big data to big trucks to all over the place. And what I see with my own eyes is that people are really killing it. They've mastered the basics. They do the work. They sharpen their story. They put in the effort, and then they prepare like crazy. And we'll get into some of that. So the book was about sales truth, and it's really simple. The first part's like, hey, be wary of what you hear online and what you read in the news because it's not always accurate. Mm-hmm. And I kind of pick on the experts that I use their own words. And then in the second part, I get into what does it take to win new sales. And I will tell you, I'm not a political junkie. I do love the news. And I was perplexed watching the two major party candidates that were nominated in 2016 because I had issues with both of them from a personal character, likability. You know, I couldn't get excited by either one, so I voted for myself. And my wife jokes. My wife jokes, and I got 3 votes total in my write-in candidate, which means my wife did not vote for me. But my fantasy of having Air Force One as my personal transportation was tempting. So I've been carrying around these lessons in my mind, and I've been toying with writing about them, for the last couple of years. And I thought, if you're going to write a book on truth, and you're going to risk insulting everybody anyway, you might as well take a sales coach's perspective. So, the thing you'll know, I made every effort to make it clear I had no horse in the race.
You did. Yeah.
And I have friends, very passionate friends on both sides of the aisle. And I ran what I was writing by them and got their input, and they're like, "This is clean, man. You are just talking from a sales perspective."
Well, it really was a great 7 topics, right? But as I was reading your disclaimer, which was 2.5 pages long, right?
Almost.
I was thinking, this is a bad idea, Mike. This is a bad But I loved the 7. Let's dig into something else. You know what? Wait a minute. Let's back up for a second. Tell everybody who's listening, because I feel like I know you, right? I've read so much stuff on you. Tell everybody, how did you become this master of sales, right? It just didn't happen overnight.
Oh, man, my dad was a sales executive, and I never wanted to go into sales. That was the big joke. I'm not going to do sales. And then, my second job out of college, I worked for a CEO that was really good at selling, and I learned that sales wasn't what I thought it was. It was much more about building relationships and being a consultant and helping people get better outcomes than it was about trying to push something, on someone that doesn't need it. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. It is kind of consulting in business. So, I don't know. I had a knack for it, and I learned if you work real hard, and I applied the methodology my dad taught me when I was going into sales. He said, this is your mindset. He said, Michael, and he's the only guy on the planet that calls me Michael. Michael, here's the deal. Your number one goal in sales is to make your customer as successful as possible. And if your motivation is to help the customer win, you will always win. So between those words of wisdom from my dad and the mentor I had as the CEO of a very large company that I got to watch sell, I realized that if you just go out and ask good questions and make friends and show people that maybe you could produce a better future for them and help them, you deliver value and deliver great outcomes, you'll have lots of conversations, and a certain number of those people you're gonna help, and they're gonna buy from you. And if you do enough of it, you get good at it. And honestly, if you go back to the 90s and my early sales days, I made more calls. I worked harder on sharpening my messaging. I got more meetings, so I got better at running meetings. So then you ask better questions, and you get better at dealing with objections and how to push past resistance, and you get good at follow-up. And everything I just said, those are basics. Those fundamentals are what the top producers across all industries are still doing today, but it's not sexy, and it's not trendy, and it's not what the morons, the self-proclaimed nouveau experts and the thought leaders on LinkedIn writing articles from their mother's basements every day. That's not what they write about. They don't write about basics and time management and discipline. They want to talk about new tools and techniques and hacks. Well, that's what gets eyeballs. But that's not what drives sales.
And that is my first point that I go to the book, and here's what I underlined: don't confuse being busy or service activity with sales activity. Talk about that, because it really is pretty much hitting on what you just described.
Oh, that's a big topic, Joe. Honestly, the number one issue in sales, and I can't believe I get paid real money by real companies to tell executives this, but the number one issue in most companies I'm in is the reason they're not winning more new sales is because their salespeople don't work on new sales. Mm-hmm. They play errand boy or errand girl. They run deliveries. They fight customer service fires. They decorate for the July 4th, party and flip the hamburgers at the barbecue. They overserve and babysit their favorite accounts because it makes them feel good, but they don't sell. And it's really crazy, but they're busy. And with smartphones today and all of our addictions to email and instant message and social media and everything else, we work a lot of hours, but we're not working on stuff that creates, advances, and closes sales opportunities. So I am brutal in this book about being more selfishly productive and saying no and not signing it. Let the company find someone else to sign up for the July 4th barbecue. Like, that is not your job. Everyone's livelihood in your company, including your families, is counting on you doing your primary job. If you got 1,000 people in your company and there's 10 salespeople, man, those 10 people got to feed the other 990,
Yep.
right? Or, I mean, you have to do your primary job, and you lose track of it because everyone's giving you work to do. Even your own company often forgets that you're not a customer service rep or delivery boy. Mm-hmm. And it just takes you away from those 3 verbs. I'm going to say them again in sales. If you are not working on creating, advancing, or closing a deal, an opportunity, you're probably doing the wrong thing.
Interesting.
Well, I want to go back to your focus on relationship and the consulting aspect of it because, I'm very passionate about that aspect as well. And I think I really would love you to elaborate because there really is a difference between transaction-based selling and really, relationship-based selling. Talk about that. What are your thoughts on that?
And I think she just made fun of me, Mike. I'm pretty sure as a small business broker doing transactions, I think she just made fun of me.
It's possible, but it's funny though. But even if you think about your business, like, yeah, you get paid for transactions, but there's a lot of relationship and consulting going on to do that transaction.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Buyers resist salespeople, and a lot of times I think that's the case because other morons poison the water for us.
Yeah.
In my first book, I said, it's not your fault, but it is your problem. So there's this anti-sales reflex reaction, right? We all do it. You think about whenever you're in a retail store, someone wants to tell you, no, go away, I'm fine, just looking, leave me alone. Like you don't want the salesperson. So the part of the reason it's so important we have a relational mindset is because buyers can smell our motivation. And when you're authentic and you really care about delivering value and producing the best outcome, that gets buyers to put their defenses down.
Yeah.
And in a lot of businesses, it depends on what your audience is selling. There are people who are in short sales cycle, very transactional, one and done type sales roles. And in that case, you do need to move faster, and it's not about the long-term relationship. But in most businesses, you're looking for an ongoing, relationship where someone is counting on you to continue to deliver value. And you can't take advantage of people. And I will tell you, the best salespeople, they sell from an abundance mentality.
Yeah.
They know there are going to be more deals. And all the time I walk away. I'm like, you know what? I'm probably not the best fit for you. Let me help you find somebody else. Or let me refer you here. Or, you know what? What you need is not in the center of my strike zone where I bring a lot of value. So I'm going to back away. And the same thing applies to something I talked about later in the book, which is owning your sales process. There's a lot of situations today where procurement, purchasing, supply chain management, call it whatever you want. They're all a bunch of weenies. They're all a bunch of weenies. That's what I call them, procurement weenies.
Sherre, you see why I like this guy?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's my New York coming out. I've been in the Midwest 25 years, and I'm celebrating the St. Louis Blues winning their Stanley Cup, but I'm a New Yorker. And you got to tell the truth. And, that what's happening is a lot of companies have deferred so much power into procurement that these people who are not really trying to get the best solution for their company, they're just trying to take your last nickel and level the playing field and get the cost down as low as possible.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's going to bring the value that the actual client, the business person at your customer, needs. So a lot of what I'm telling a lot of salespeople right now is you got to stay out of that procurement pit. And you got to get tight with the business people and show them how you're going to produce a better outcome. And when the procurement people start telling you, well, you got to put on your numbers in these boxes, and these are our terms, and you have to do this, and I'm like, no, I don't work for you.
Yeah.
I work for your company. And if you're trying to set up hoops for me to jump through that don't increase my chances of winning or don't allow me to get your company the best solution, I'm going to tell you to pound sand, and I'm going to go back to your boss and say, listen, I'm not dealing with that person anymore because he's not going to get you the outcome you need.
Whoa, Mike. Are you telling me that salespeople out there should tell their owners, no, that is not something I want to do because it doesn't help me create new leads, new sales? Are you telling me that?
Oh, you just gave me a little curveball there. Yes. And I have people thank me, and this is one of my most frustrating things. A salesperson will read especially my sales management book, and they'll be like, "Hey, can you help us? Like, my company has me doing deliveries, and I have to work in the warehouse a couple hours, and
wash the windows
they want
on
me
Wednesday."
To do this." And then they beat me up and say, "Well, you're not making your quota." And I look at the owner or the sales vice president, and I'm like, "Hey, You know why you're not making your sales numbers? Because you're killing your salespeople with all this admin crap and non-revenue driving nonsense. So, yes, I'm always telling salespeople, push back. Stop letting people put work on your desk. If they want you to sell, they have to give you time to sell. And I'm only to call any for free. I'll call any silly business owner and have a conversation and go, you're killing your salespeople.
Mike, I have to talk, the whole supplier diversity and all that stuff. You are so right. They put so many walls between. And, I had a situation years and years ago, and people still say, how did you do that? But sometimes you just have to put your foot down. They have ridiculous terms sometimes. Sometimes they're saying they're not going to pay you for 60 or 90 or even whatever days. And I won a contract, and I basically said, my terms are I have to have a deposit up front from a cash flow standpoint, and I got it.
Good for you.
And
Good for you.
And
Good
even
for
though
you.
it was against the policy, I was like, well, you want to, and it was a value based. It wasn't just a price based. Okay. But the bottom line is some people don't even think they can ask, right?
You can ask. I love that story, Sherre. You push back. I have it happen all the time. I get on the phone with some giant company, right? And I'm with their senior vice president. They're like, oh, we're going to use you. I'm like, hey, that's great. Let me just tell you this. I don't do procurement, and I don't bank my clients. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, our standard payment terms are 60 days. I'm like, that's great. Those are not my payment terms. My payment terms are you pay me today or we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
And I say really nicely, I understand if that doesn't work for you, and I wish you well. I'm sorry. But otherwise, I'm not interested, because the decision I had to make in my business is I don't have the time to jump through legal and procurement hoops, and I don't bank clients. I'm a two-man company.
Right.
Like,
right.
You can take advantage of somebody else. So if you want to work with me, I'm going to put 100% of my effort into creating value for you by working on preparing for the lessons, the workshops, the speaking, the training, whatever we're going to do. And then when I get there, I'm going to do great work. But I'm not putting 5 minutes effort into dealing with your stupid big corporate process, because that doesn't get you or me any value.
Exactly.
And people respect that.
Oh, they do.
You're not going to win every battle.
Right.
But I have, and the stories are in the book. It says own your sales process so you don't fall in the procurement pit. And I have stories of really small companies that told big companies like American Airlines, like Kohler Plastics, like some huge, huge companies, hey, I'm not going to play your game. I'm not doing that RFP that way. I'm going to get my meeting with the stakeholders before I put the numbers in the boxes.
Right.
And people are, like, they hear me say, they're like, I can't do that. I'm like, yes, you can. And the stories are in the book to prove it. If you're really good and your clients really think you're going to get them the best solution, they'll fight for you internally. But you got to get tight, really tight with the business people making the decision that are under pressure to produce a great outcome.
Absolutely.
Mike, one of the things I read in the book that I liked the statement, and I also read it in Jeb's book. By the way, we had Jeb on the show last week because I read your book and you talked about Jeb Blount, the fanatical prospecting. So thank you for that.
Great.
I appreciate it. But you and he both talk about, and you say time blocking is transformational. Can you talk about that? Because it does seem like time discipline seems to be a really important piece of successful salespeople. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it's like a huge topic. And it's weird. Time management has been a hot topic forever.
Right.
I mean, go back in my early career in the 90s, we had the Franklin planners, and all the 400 pounds of, $400 of 7-page paper, and that didn't help us. Here's what I could tell you. The most effective executives, business owners, and salespeople I see, they own their time. Mm-hmm. And you can't manage time, but you can certainly block it. And my discipline, my definition for time blocking, it's really simple. It's the discipline of making appointments with yourself to work on your high-value activities. Right? So instead of making a sticky note or a to-do list, you actually go into your stinking calendar and you carve out an hour or 90 minutes where you're going to work on one thing, something that moves the needle, right? It could be research. It could be outbound calling. It could be proactive prospecting, popping in on people. It could be whatever you need to do. But you make an appointment, and during that time block, you do nothing else but that. And you don't respond to inbound messages, and you're not available to other people. Listen, if the building's on fire, somebody will come get you. But otherwise, stay locked in, because everybody has ADD. We're all addicted to our smartphones. I read the book Deep Work by Cal Newport last year, and my assistant actually made me read it because she was worried about me doing too much multitasking and not getting the big stuff done. And he basically said, we're all mental wrecks. because we don't know how to focus on anything. And salespeople could work 60 hours a week and answer hundreds of emails, but nobody becomes the top-ranked salesperson or makes President Club because they got to inbox zero. Like, having a clean inbox is not the same thing as making quota or blowing your goals away. So if you're not working on things that, what are the 3 verbs? Create, advance, or close sales opportunities, you're probably doing the wrong thing. So I would suggest go in your calendar and block out time, and particularly to work the top of the funnel. Because top producers know you got to keep the pipeline full of new opportunities. That way you have an abundance mentality. Most salespeople default to service. And then with the time they have left, they work their hot deals trying to close them. And I get that because you want to get them over the finish line and they're there. But, man, what you tend to ignore is the top of the pipeline, the top of the funnel, those cold, targeted prospects, right, that aren't calling you. You need to call them. And if you don't get that out of the way early in the day and get it done, you never get to it. So that's why time blocking is so important.
And one of the things you say in the book is time is the greatest equalizer, and all accounts are not created equal. Talk briefly about that, and then we've got to go to the half-hour break.
Yeah, well, all we have is time. And you said it. All of your prospects and customers are not created equally.
I didn't say that, buddy. You said it in your book.
Well,
I'm not that smart.
I was giving you the credit. Thanks for the quote. Here's the thing. There's a lot of salespeople that have what I call hybrid roles. They have to manage existing customers or accounts, whether it's a territory or a book, as they call it in the insurance world or the mortgage world, right? So you have existing accounts that require service and maintenance, and also some growth, and then you have new business you're trying to get. The problem is most salespeople don't do the hard work of strategically segmenting their existing customers to identify those that are really growable. We spend too much time working with our friends and the people that love us because it makes us feel good, and we ignore the jerk customer where we have 10% of their business, but we should have 50. You know what I mean? So my argument is if you want to really be productive, on your existing accounts, make a list of the most growable accounts. Those are the ones worthy of your time. You're probably spending too much time with your big customers. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if you're getting all their business and they're not growable, you're probably over-serving them. And then on the other side of the ledger, you need prospects to go after, and you got to be strategic. You could be God's gift to sales, but if you're going after the wrong types of customers, you're not going to produce optimal results. You need an ideal profile. Who looks, smells, feels like people that love you, that sense your value, that are willing to pay your price. You want that type of perfect prospect on your list, so when you know you're targeting them, you have a high likelihood of connecting. So that's what I'm saying. You're going to be wasting a lot of time if you don't put thinking into whom you're targeting.
Let's take a break. When we come back, the question I'm going to ask you when we come back, because I'm a little confused in the book, do I go after the competitor's biggest accounts or not? I'm not quite sure about that, Mike. You're going to have to let me know that when we get back. We will be right back. We're talking to the sales master, I tell you, and his newest book, Sales Truth. It is Mike Weinberg. Mike, thank you so much, my friend. Give us a minute. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back. And we are back. You are listening to WSIC. I am Joe Vagnone, and I'm here with my co-host, Sherre DeMao. She is the founder of Biz Growth, Inc. We are talking with the most trusted and sought-after sales expert, catch this, Sherre, in the world. Mike Weinberg, you are the man. Newest book, Sales Truth. Mike, I want you to know something. We don't allow phone calls into the show because we hang up on people. You know, we're not that skilled at that, you know, around here. But we do allow texting. And I've already received 3 texts from 3 listeners wanting to know how they can get your newest book. Can you tell us how to do that?
Yeah, in fact, let me make a crazy offer. I wanted to do this for your listeners right now. I'm going to give away up to 100 free copies of the Kindle version only from Amazon. Here's what you need to do in the next hour. All right, we're going to limit it to the first 100 people. Go on Amazon and buy the Kindle version of Sales Truth, and then email us your receipt, and we're going to reimburse you more than you paid for it with an Amazon gift card. So email contact@MikeWeinberg.com. So go buy the Kindle up till, I'll even do it up all the way until 10 o'clock Eastern Time. The first 100 people that buy the Kindle and email us at contact@MikeWeinberg.com, send the receipt. we will reimburse you more than you paid for it with an Amazon gift card. Send it right back to you. And I'm blown away. I just checked during the break. We have 83 reviews on Amazon for this book. It's been out 2 days.
That's great.
And people are freaking out. I cried yesterday. It's hard to write a book, and I am an emotional guy. And yes, you get business from writing a book, but honestly, it's the feedback from people when they say I'm implementing this and I'm already sensing a difference. And that's why you do this.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's an incredible feeling. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. And the first 100 people that buy the Kindle and email us in the next hour at contact@MikeWeinberg.com, we're going to get fully reimbursed.
MikeWeinberg.com. Listen, I want you guys just to go to MikeWeinberg.com, period, because you will see all of the stuff he does and can do for you. Mike, it is one of the number one problems. I deal with so many small business people. They're always challenged by Salesforce, and that sort of stuff. It is the one thing they wish they didn't have to deal with, which is amusing for a guy like me because, if you're in small business, you better be selling something, right? So it's surprising to me that they're so frustrated by it. So please go to MikeWeinberg.com. So, Mike, answer the question. Do I go after my competitors? Because when I'm reading here on page 106, you say, you got a better chance of getting bloodied up than you do of winning that business. Explain that to me.
Okay, you're talking about a specific type of big customer. I'm talking there about the gigantic monster account. My friend Anthony Anarino calls them dream clients. Do you go after the giant account that your competitor has? And my answer is yes, but be careful, because the reality is it's a high-risk, high-reward situation. If you win it, it's awesome, but you will get bloodied, and it could take a lot of time. And what I get really nervous about is salespeople that only have a couple opportunities in their pipeline, and they're gigantic, and they live as prisoners of hope. That's a phrase I took from a guy named Tom Riley, who's got a book, Value-Added Selling. He's a brilliant sales trainer. And he says prisoners of hope usually starve, right? Because they have the couple opportunities, and they're so hopeful that they're going to work out, and they forgot. And then what I say is they don't do the responsible thing. They don't keep turning over more rocks, working more regular size accounts. So my answer, Joe, is yes. Go after your competitors' biggest customers if they're a good fit for you, but keep working regular accounts too, because you got to pay the bills. So don't become a prisoner of hope. That's for sure.
Okay, so here it is. Never ever answer this question at least the way it is asked. Here's the question, Sherre. What do you do? Or what is it your customer does? Explain to me, Mike, why I should not answer that question.
Because most salespeople are so self-focused in their messaging. It makes me crazy. Our sales story, our message needs to be others-focused, and we should lead with the issues we address and the outcomes that we create for our customers. So I'll use my own business as an example. I'll show you the difference between answering that question and not. Okay. When someone says, tell me about your business, what do you do? If I answered that question the way it was asked, I say, I'm a consultant, I'm a speaker, I've got some best-selling books. Who cares? So what? That's boring. It's self-focused. Right. But that's not. They don't really care what you do. They want to know what's in it for them. So spin it. So when someone says, Mike, what do you do? Oh, thanks for asking. Senior executives bring me in when they're frustrated. Their sales teams live in a reactive mode, and they're not filling the funnel, or they're showing up late and missing out opportunities, and they're sitting on their butt. And when they get to an opportunity, they're getting commoditized because they can't sell value. And I help them create a team of proficient sales hunters. Do you see the difference between going, I'm a consultant, I'm a speaker, that's all about me.
Right.
But if I talk about what's in it for them, same thing, trucking world. I got a bunch of dealerships and manufacturers in the trucking world. The big issues in trucking today: driver recruitment and retention, fuel economy, and uptime. Everyone who runs a fleet of trucks has got those three big challenges. Yet I got sales guys that go in on a sales call and they go, hey, we got the best trucks. They're all made in America. It's really good. And I got 14 stores, and I've been in this company 20 years, and it's family held. I'm like, who gives a rip? They care about finding and keeping drivers and getting fuel costs down and uptime increase. So why don't you go and say, hey, we're helping truck fleets find and keep drivers, reduce fuel costs, and we keep the trucks on the road. Does that interest you? And of course the answer is yes. Right? So that you can't be self-focused in your messaging. That's why you should never answer that question. And of all the chapters in the book, if you read one, and it's hard to pick one, but man, that chapter, I think it's 10, is you got to have compelling messaging, and you get compelling messaging by talking not about what you do, but about how you help and the issues you address and the outcomes you create.
Well, then there's another chapter that I went through that just made me laugh. Here's what it is. Do yourself a favor, lose those phrases, get counseling if you need to, but stop using those expressions. Well, Sherre, surprise, surprise, it's the two things that I leave in voicemail all the time. I'm just reaching out to you.
Exactly.
And I just wanted to touch base with you. Mike, you tell me I'm just a schmuck for that, right? That's just bad stuff. Bad way to leave a voicemail message.
No, I'm not going to call you that. What I'm going to tell you is that the problem is those expressions are hackneyed. They're overused. Reaching out is the most overused expression in business today. I'm just reaching out. Well, first of all, reaching out doesn't communicate any value, and it's totally self-focused. I'm reaching out. That's nice. So what? And then the other one I think is icky. I'm just touching base. You're not touching my base. No, you're not. Like, don't go there. So I think part of it is, it goes back to that anti-sales reflex I talked about earlier. You don't want to sound like every other salesperson. So I don't want salespeople going, hey, I'm just reaching out, I'm touching base to check in. There's nothing in that for the customer. When I'm following up with someone, I'll say, hey, I'm circling back with you. Right? I wanted to get back with you on the previous conversation, or get back with you on the message I left. And again, I'll go back to my story, right? I'm calling you because you look a lot like people that we're helping overcome issue A and achieve result B. Give me a call back, and I'll try you again. Like I mean, you can be really effective in voicemail. I'll just add this on. I get so upset with salespeople whining. I get voicemail. I know you get freaking voicemail. You get voicemail 80% of the time. So look at it as an opportunity to leave a little radio commercial.
Oh,
right?
I agree.
Like,
it's something meaningful.
We got to take a break. Let's take a break, Mike. It is just absolutely phenomenal to have you on the show, buddy. This is the author of Sales Truth, Mike Weinberg. Go to MikeWeinberg.com. And we are back. This is WSIC. I am Joe Vagnone, and I am here with Sherre DeMao. We are talking with the #1 sales expert in the world, Mike Weinberg. Mike, I'm sorry, buddy. I got about 37 more points of your book I'd like to talk to you about, Sales Truth, but I just don't have the time to do it, my friend. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Talk about it when I have dinner with you in Charlotte. Everyone listening, go to Amazon.com, read the reviews, buy the Kindle in the next hour, and I'll reimburse you if you email the receipt to contact@MikeWeinberg.com.
Thanks, buddy. You are listening to Local Biz Now. If it's Friday morning, your business matters. We'll see you next week.